hello. Happy Marvelous Monday, everybody. I hope that you all are well. Hope that your week has been great so far on the second day of the week. Hope that your weekend was great. I'm Carissa's fan. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am the landlord and tenant coach. I just want to say welcome to all of my first time viewers. I do appreciate you. Show me some love. Let me know where you're watching from, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube or LinkedIn. Let me know you're here. Drop some love in the chat. Say, hey, girl, hey. Well, listen, today we are going to have a conversation, much needed discussion about pest control. I know that landlords have been hit hard. I know that now a lot of jurisdictions are coming out of the pandemic. And so there are a lot of enforcement agencies that are in place in full operation. Okay. How do I know it? Because a lot of you have been contacting me either by email, by text, or just letting me know after a meeting. And so today I wanted to really take some time to get into this, to discuss some things that are happening and how landlords can avoid fines for tenants, pest control issues. So the information that I'm sharing today, I promise to make sure that it's clear, that it's understandable. And by all means, if you have questions or comments, go ahead and drop it in the chat box so that I can address it. Is that all right? So let me just acknowledge some people who are here. And again, let me know which platform you're watching from. Also, I love to know where you're tuned in at, which geographical location. Are you in the DC metropolitan area? Are you in New York? Are you in Atlanta, North Carolina? Let me know where you're checking in from. Hello, Cecilia. Thank you so much for checking in. Shadida is tuning in from the YouTube channel. Hello, Ms. Logan. Happy Marvelous Monday to you. I appreciate you all. Listen, questions. I'm having this conversation today and every Monday at 7:30 p.m. This is what I do. I share information for landlords as well as tenants because I know that an educated rental community makes a better community. All right. So if you're a landlord, chime in. If you are a tenant, chime in. This is the time. This is the platform to ask all of the questions that you have. I promise I may not know all the answers, but what I don't know, I will follow up and get back to you. All right. So as you can see, I am in the office. I'm not in the lab, but I'm going to get through this today. I'm going to answer any questions that you have. All right. So again, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is what I do each and every Monday at 7:30 p.m. So let me get into why I'm having this conversation today and why it is so needed. But before I do that, just to give you, those of you who are new to my platform, just a little backdrop about Carissa, who I am. I am, again, I'm a landlord and tenant professional and expert. I've been in the property management space for well over 28 years, serving in the capacity of either property manager, housing inspector, CEO of my own property management company, and I am also a property management educator. I teach property management for one of the local universities. So I promise to share information that will be relevant and relative to landlord and tenant issues around pest control. All right. I believe that sometimes people, they have, bad bumps and, just tough times in life because of what they don't know. But then I also come to the realization that people may do things because they just don't care. So whatever side of the aisle people fall on, that's their business. But I promise today I'm going to share information that will help so many of you. So let me pull up my first set of tips for today. So I'm going to share tips for landlords, and then I'm also going to share tips for tenants because I have a large population of viewers. And sometimes I get a little antsy when I don't give them the tips. They say, well, Carissa, you're always giving tips for the landlords. You're not giving tips for us. And I agree. So I'm going to make sure that I keep it balanced today. Is that all right? I love balance. So as we are talking about pest control and why it is important, I want people to understand that when it comes to infestation, it is the root of something. All right. So before I get into the meat of the discussion today, here is what I want to do. I want to take a moment and I want to know from you, in your opinion, if you believe that pest control is the landlord's or the tenant's responsibility. So let me start there. Who's responsible for pest control? Just drop it in the comment section. Is it the landlord's responsibility or is it the tenant's responsibility? And I'd love to know your thoughts and your feedback on it. I know some of you may know, but then there are some who don't know. So let me pause and just drop your comment, drop your response in the comment box. And I'm going to try to get it up on the screen. Okay, I see your comments coming in. Okay, so again, the question is, who's responsible for pest control? Is it the landlord's responsibility or is it the tenant's responsibility? I see the comments are coming in. They are interesting. All right, I'll wait a few more seconds. Who's responsible for pest control? All right, I see the comments. They're still coming in. Okay, all right, I see your comment. All right, so I'll wait for one more. All right, so let me go to the comments today. So the first one is from Miss Shadida. She says that the responsibility falls on both parties, both the landlord as well as the tenant. Cecilia, you said both. Okay. Victor Blackwell says both. All right. Cecilia, you said due to the Section 8 housing inspector. Okay, that's a great point. I'm going to come back to that. Shadida, you said we should provide a pest-free home, but the tenant should keep the house clean. That is interesting. That's so good. I like that. All right. So Victor Blackwell, you said both. All right. Here is my response to that. And those are all great responses. Cecilia, you said most tenants are not responsible. Some of them will not clean up. That is so true. That's so true. And there's a way to handle that to make sure that landlords are not paying fines and fees and penalties because of that. And so I'm going to discuss today how to handle those situations. And actually, all of those responses that came in are true. It could be both. It could be the landlord's responsibility and or it could be the tenant's responsibility. All right, so the first thing, I know many of you already know this. You're already prepared for what I'm about to say, okay? As it pertains to responsibility. So before I discuss the responsibility, here's what I do want to say. That infestation, I shared this maybe a week or two ago, what infestation is. What infestation is, according to housing quality standard inspections or many local states, statutes, housing code inspections, infestation is defined as two or more. It could be two or more mice, two or more roaches, two or more cockroaches, two or more spiders. That is what infestation is. Okay. So when it comes to pest control and infestation, it can really wreak havoc on people's lives in general, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's our tenants. But not only that, but here's the thing about pest control and infestation. It could create damage. It can cause damage to the property, and it could also be a health hazard. And so this is something that I believe a lot of landlords and tenants as well don't take seriously. It's not just, oh, well, that's just a mouse. Oh, that's just a roach. And then you see a lot more than over a period of time, it increases instead of decreasing. There's an issue going on here. And it is always in the best interest of landlords as well as tenants to resolve the situation or the problem as quickly as possible. Here's the thing. Landlords are required to provide. So that most of your comments said both, that the landlord must take responsibility. That's true because federal standard federal regulations administered by HUD, Housing and Urban Development. That is a federal agency. They have given the definition of what housing should be for tenants from a landlord's perspective. The home must be decent, safe, and sanitary, regardless. It doesn't matter if it is a market tenant, doesn't matter if the tenant is some sort of housing subsidy program, it doesn't matter if it's in the city, if it's out in the country. Rental property, housing providers must provide decent, safe, and sanitary living, regardless of the age, regardless of the race, regardless of the sex. It doesn't matter what the tenants look like. They don't even have to like the tenants, but by law, that is the responsibility of landlords. Now, tenants also have a responsibility to not bring in new pests, and they should also be reporting these issues to their landlord, their housing provider, immediately, not like years later. But when they see something, they should say something. But unfortunately, that seems to be a problem for so many. It's a problem for landlords to provide a home that's decent, safe, and sanitary. And a rental home could be an apartment, it could be a condo, it could be a single family house, a townhouse, right? This is a problem for a lot of landlords. And some tenants, unfortunately, some tenants don't know, maybe they don't remember, maybe they're just not comfortable reporting to their landlord that they have a pest control issue. So this is why I'm sharing this information today. So the big question is, what can landlords do to avoid fines for tenants' pest control issue? So I want to come back to your comment that you posted in the chat, Miss Anderson. You said according to the housing inspector. Okay, that's a good point. Now, there are some landlords and housing providers that will watch and are currently watching. Their tenants are not in any type of housing subsidy program, whereas there is no housing inspector requiring landlords to exterminate, right? So I just want to make sure that everybody understands their role, whether you're the owner, the landlord, the property manager. You could be a real estate investor just getting into property management. And so I want to share this information today because tenants can take action. So let's just say, I'm going to go way left and I'm going to come back. I'm going to address your comments in the chat box, and then I'm going to come back to the rest of my points. So let's just say that, yes, it is the tenant's responsibility, right? The tenant does not notify the landlord that they have an issue with bed bugs. Now, it's a new landlord, a new owner, new real estate investor, and they have never managed property before. So they just acquired like 200 doors. So that's 200 rental properties. And because they are new in the industry, they don't know to go out and do inspections. They don't know to put the lease language in a way that makes it clear on the responsibility of when a tenant should report these things. And so let's just say they purchase these doors and it's almost 9 months later, something happens and they have to respond. They send someone there to the rental property and they realize that the property is severely infested with bed bugs. There are bed bugs everywhere. They're in every room of the rental property. It's a 3-bedroom apartment. As a matter of fact, it's a duplex. It's an upstairs, it's a downstairs, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and it is completely infested with bed bugs. And so obviously the property manager is kind of like grossed out because of what they see, and a tenant is offended because they're like, I need help, and you don't want to come in, like you're standoffish. And so there's this back and forth conversation over who's responsible for taking care of this bed bug issue. Let me just say and assure you that not doing anything will not make the problem go away. And so this is why I really appreciate the if you see something, say something campaign. Okay. So now here it is. The landlord didn't pay attention, didn't watch my lives that I do each and every Monday, and I'm giving people this free information. Okay. They didn't hire me or retain my services as my client. I would have created a lease package and a whole system for their business. They didn't do that, right? So it's not in the lease that the tenant should report it. It's not in the lease that the tenant is going to be responsible for any type of cost associated with it. And neither is it in that owner's lease that they're going to take care of the pest control issue. So now there's this back and forth debate over who's responsible. It's the tenant's rental home, but yet the owner is still required by law to maintain a rental property that's decent, safe, and sanitary. And so in that particular situation, the county hits the owner with a hefty fine because not only does that apartment have bed bugs, but the bed bugs have migrated to other units within that rental community. And so the problem started out small, and over a period of time, it grew, and before you know it, it was this huge infestation. And so that's why it's clear. It should be clear, rather, in the lease. It should be in writing who's responsible, when a tenant is supposed to say something, and if they don't, the consequences for tenants not saying anything. So here's why I want people to understand the importance of, if for no other reason, excuse me, watch this Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn Live that I do every week. If it doesn't apply to you today, it might apply to you at some point in life. Or maybe you know someone who is a landlord or a housing provider. Please share this information with them, because although in that particular situation, the tenant was responsible because of their poor housekeeping. Okay, so as a matter of fact, let me bring a picture up on the screen because I want to paint the picture of what happens when there is poor housekeeping and there is not adequate or sufficient management to effectively handle that situation. So let me bring a picture up on the screen because I believe that pictures speaks volume. So here's our picture today. All right, so this is what one of the rental properties look like. If you can see this, this is how the tenant lives, okay? Now, for the sake of privacy, I did not share the full picture, but if you look in the room, I want you to, if you see it, I want to pause for a second. If you see it, please place it in the comment box. I want you to pay attention to this picture, and when you see it, please place it in the comment box. What stands out the most in this particular picture? I'll wait a few seconds. I see your comments coming in. When you see it, whatever it is that stands out the most in this picture, place it in the comment section, please. All right, I see your comments coming in. I'll wait for a couple of more. What stands out the most in this picture? All right, so now I'm going to the comment section. Hello, Dee. Thank you so much for tuning in, beautiful. Hello, Bishop Stedman. How are you, Mama Bishop? Happy Monday. That's my spiritual mom, everybody. Okay. Victor Blackwell, you said terrible. Yes, terrible. But what stands out the most? Angela says food. Fails says a sleeping child. Cecilia says, looks like my tenant's house, a hoarder, a kid sleeping. Shadana, you said soda cans on the floor. Angela, you said a child. Absolutely. That was the most horrific thing in that picture. That's what stood out the most for me. There's actually a child sleeping because it's just normal. It's not just a bed that's not made up. It's not just the soda cans on the floor. It's actually a child sleeping in this condition. Now, here is what I want people to know. Now, I didn't bring that picture up so that we can talk about it and laugh at it. That's not why I'm revealing that. That's not why I'm showing it. I'm exposing it because this is how some people live. They don't know how to maintain a home that's decent, safe, and sanitary. And so in that particular situation, it is the tenant's responsibility to make sure that they keep a home that's clean, that's livable, that's conducive for a child to be there. And the child was just sleeping, and the mother just sleeps in it. Whoever lives in that rental property, that's normal for them. Let me just say that if you are living in that situation, I'm not putting you on a spot. I'm not asking you to contact me. I'm just saying that that's not normal. Okay. So let me bring up another picture, because again, pictures are important. All right. So I'm bringing up another picture because landlords are not off the hook. So I brought that picture up because that was the tenant's responsibility. All right. But here is another picture. In this situation, do you see this is a wall, the base of the wall, you see carpet, and you see an area where the carpet is missing. And do you also see that at the base of that wall, there's some steel wool stuffed inside of there? Do you see that? Here's what I want owners, landlords, and property managers to know, even tenants, because my goal is to educate the rental community. As normal as that is, and I see it so much in the rental community, I've been a housing inspector for so long. When I inspect rental homes for my clients and for others, I see that problem. It is a common problem. The solution to sealing holes is not just stuffing it with steel wool and leaving it like that. Okay, that is not the correct way to resolve that problem. All right. I don't do maintenance, but let me just tell you that from a housing perspective, stuffing steel wool in a hole and leaving it like that is not the solution, because a child or anybody could come and pull the steel wool out. So if you're putting steel wool inside of holes, that's great. Please make sure that if you are a contractor or if you hire a contractor, that they seal up the hole so that it looks like it's never been penetrated, meaning that it's a smooth surface. You should not see the steel wool sticking out. There should be no holes. All right, so let me go back to that picture because I did not leave that one up as long. So where the carpet was, at some point over a period of time, mice came into the home. Mice penetrated that rental property. And so instead of completely fixing the problem, someone placed steel wool and they left it like that. That's all they did. Now, if you notice that, and this is going to be for a different live another day. If you notice, the wood is chipped, right? At the top, there's chip paint, there's peeling paint around the base of the walls. Now, that's not for the discussion today, all right? But that is also a violation. So that's why it's important that we understand, as landlords and tenants and people in the rental community as a whole, whether you rent, whether you own, that's not the proper way to resolve the situation. All right. So let me go to the comment box because I see your comments are coming in. So Shadana, you said, can I bring the picture back up? Was a child under clothes? Okay, so I will bring the picture back up. Victor, you said you saw a mess and clutter. And for the second picture that I just showed, Cecilia, you said rats. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to bring up the first picture, and then I'm going to go to my points that I'm going to give for landlords, and then I have some tips for tenants. So give me a second. Let me bring that first picture back up. Okay, so you see in this picture, you see the child sleeping in the bed. You see filth on the floor, clothes are kind of all over the place. The child's book bag is on the bed, so maybe the child is getting ready to get up and go to school. Maybe the child just came home and was tired. I don't know. All I know is what I see is a concern of mine because I'm a mother. I am a mother, I'm a grandmother, and this deeply vexes my spirit. So I wanted to share that information. Okay, so landlords are not off the hook. Here's my third and final picture. All right. What's happening in this picture? Let's talk about this really quickly here. What's happening in this picture? Does anybody see it? If you see it, please drop it in the comment section. What's going on in this picture here? because there's clearly something going on. All right, so if you look at the base of the wall, if you look at the floor at the base of the wall by the balcony door, that's a balcony door leading out to a patio. You see that? All right. Shadana, you said that's a health hazard. Angela sees it. She sees a hole in the floor. Is that the tenant's responsibility or is that the landlord's responsibility? Who's responsible? And so this is why I share this type of information. This is why every Monday at 7:30, this is what I do, because a lot of people are not aware. That is the landlord's responsibility ultimately. Yes, it could be tenant damage, but it looks like that there has been neglect, that the owner should have had that repaired a long time ago. And so that leaves room for pests to come in, vermin to come in, mice, roaches, cockroaches, rats, and all types of other things to enter into the property. Can you imagine being a tenant, living in a property like this? The hole is big enough for a rat to come in, for snakes to come in from outside. This is clearly not acceptable. And so in this situation, the landlord should be held accountable, and the landlord by law should be fined. Now, although the tenant probably dropped something and created the hole that's there, and if that's the case, then there's a way to handle that situation. So let me go to my tips for today, and I promise I'm not going to hold you long. Victor, you said it looks like water damage. Okay. Angela, she said that it's the landlord's responsibility. Victor, you said it looked like it might have been leaking. Angela also said, but tenant's responsibility to report it. Absolutely. That is so true. That's so true. It's the tenant's responsibility to report it to the landlord. So here are my tips for landlords on today, because I want people to understand that there is a way to avoid being fined. There's a way for landlords to avoid being fined for for tenant pest control issues. So the first thing is this: you always want to review what's in writing. Review your rental lease agreement for responsibility. Is it the tenant's responsibility or is it your responsibility as a landlord? Is it clear? Because sometimes owners don't put it in writing, and obviously you cannot enforce something that does not exist. If it's not in writing, you can't enforce it. So if you try to take this tenant to court, or if the tenant takes you to court, because tenants can take landlords to court, you go before a judge, you go before the court, and the judge asks, oh, well, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord, please provide us with a copy of the lease that demonstrates that this tenant is responsible. And you have nothing in writing. You've just done yourself a great disservice. Please do not embarrass yourself by trying to enforce something that does not exist. All right. Landlords should always document. I talk about this so frequently. Document, document, document. Make sure that you are communicating with your tenants. It could be by phone. Okay. You could send a text, but please also follow up with a letter in writing. You can either mail it, take it to the tenant's house, have someone to send it there, email them a copy of the letter, but please make sure that you are documenting your communication, your attempts to resolve matters and issues that are going on in the rental property. Here's a third thing: identify what the problem is. So today I've shown you 3 pictures. Now, in one of the pictures, was it clear if it was a mouse or rat that entered? We don't know. Could it be roaches or maybe cockroaches? There's a difference. We don't know. Is it an issue with termites or ants, or is it bedbugs? So you want to identify what the issue is. Okay. Sometimes tenants may say, "Oh, well, I have rats," and in fact, it might be mice. I mean, not that one is greater or less than the other. They're both nasty, right? But it lets you know what the issue is. And so you want to identify what the issue is. Then you want to decide how much pest control, how much service you need, how much treatment is needed to correct the problem at the property. So it could be once a month, it could be twice a month, it could be quarterly, right? So identify the need. And how do you do that? You contact a professional pest control company, unless you're going to be responsible for going out to handle the pest control issues yourself. But identify the timeline, I'm sorry, identify the problem and decide on the timeline, the frequency of the service that's needed. And then you want to treat the problem consistently until it goes away, and then evaluate if additional services are needed. So one rental property that I manage, it's a house and it's a tenant who had never lived in a house. She had no clue about how to keep the house clean. And it's a really large house. It's a beautiful house. But because of poor housekeeping, over a period of time before I came in to manage the property, something happened and she just let the house go. Right. And so she never cleaned up and there was filth everywhere. There was grease, not only on the stove, but there was grease on the floor around the stove. It looked like this tenant had never cleaned the house, and she had been living there for at least 12 to 15 years. And so if you can imagine the time frame or how long it takes for filth to accumulate and to build up in that span of time, I just want to paint the picture so that you can see that sometimes people just don't know. All right. And so it took a lot to get rid of the rats. This tenant didn't have mice. She had rats that were entering the home. Now, I'm a housing inspector. I don't do rats. I don't do snakes. Okay. I'm out the door. Before I even come in, if you tell me, if a tenant tells me that they have rats or mice or snakes, I'll likely not enter. Okay. No, thank you. And so you want to treat the problem consistently until it goes away. The sixth thing that I want landlords to understand about avoiding fines is that after every treatment, document it. After you visit the property or whoever visits the property, document it and send the pictures, the letters, the pest control reports to the tenants. And make sure, please, by all means, please make sure that you are documenting tenant files. If you do not have a file for your tenant, please make sure that you do that. That is so important. It could be a hard folder. It could be a soft manila folder. It could be an envelope. If you don't have the financial resources to do it as a landlord, maybe put it in a shoebox. Find some sort of filing system for your tenants, okay? And then after you do all of that, enforce your lease. If you've done all that you can as a landlord and it's not working and the tenant is not cooperating, or maybe you have a nice tenant like a few of my tenants, and I manage a lot of rental property in multiple jurisdictions. So maybe you have a nice tenant like one of my tenants who emphatically stated, I am not letting pest control come in. I don't like their services, and you're not coming into my house. Okay, I respect that, Miss Tenant. No worries. I document the file. On today's date, March the 21st, I spoke to Miss Tenant and she refused to allow pest control to exterminator to come in for pest control services. So not only does my wonderful tenant refuse to allow the service to take place that we offer in that particular rental community multiple times a month, she turned around and contacted one of the local housing inspector offices to complain. So obviously the inspector, they contacted my office. They say, hey, we have one of your tenants. They're complaining about pest control issues. And so obviously I'm responsible for the call. So I finally speak to the inspector. I say, hey, listen, this is the situation. I pulled up the tenant's file. I said, listen, I will forward you all the documents, all of the letters that we've sent to this tenant. I can also forward you inspections that my team or myself have conducted at this rental property. This tenant is refusing service. I can also provide you with the pest control or the exterminator report showing how many times they went to the property and this tenant refused. I refuse to pay for tenants' nastiness, for tenants not allowing us to come in. And so there is a way to avoid being fined, because here's the thing. If that housing inspector contacted me, my office, to say there's a problem, and if I didn't have anything in writing, I have no clue, I wasn't aware of what's happening, had never done any inspections, had never tried to send an exterminator. That could have cost us a lot of money. And so there's a way to handle situations so that landlords are not responsible. I get it. Some tenants will not allow you to come in to make repairs or to do pest control. Maybe they don't trust the chemicals, whatever. They're entitled to that. Maybe they don't feel safe with people coming into their homes. It is okay. It's their right. However, if a tenant is not allowing you to come in to do what you need to do by law, okay, the only thing and the best thing that you can do is document it. All right, so let me go to some tips that I have for tenants, okay? Miss Logan, here's your question. Why can't the landlord call the Department of Health when poor housekeeping items are found? Isn't that a safety obligation? That's a great question. Landlords, housing providers can absolutely contact the housing inspector. They can take tenants to court, for poor housekeeping, especially if it violates the lease. Great question. Thank you for that. That is a health. Okay, that could be a health issue. Now, think about this if you will, because again, pests, mice, roaches, bedbugs, ants, all those things, they don't just stay in one place. And so if it's a situation, especially if it's an apartment building or there are other properties, rental homes that are connected to that, it could potentially go to another place. And so we don't want that. And so that's why it's going to be so important for you as a landlord to enforce your lease. So by all means, yes, please do that. Thank you for that question, Ms. Logan. All right, so now I want to share some tips for tenants, because I recognize that some tenants they do have some really slum landlords. I get it. I understand. Everybody's not a great landlord like you and I, Miss Logan and Miss Anderson, Shadida. Everybody's not a good landlord. Everybody's not a team player. I get it. I'm a great housing provider. I promise you. I go above and beyond to make sure my tenants are good. Sometimes I miss the mark, but I promise I still strive to give it 110%. And when I can't, I still document it and I follow up. So if you are a tenant and if you have a landlord who is a slum landlord, okay, there are some things that you can do to protect yourself. All right. So remember, when I got started, I said I share tips, I share information for landlords, but I also share information for tenants. Okay. So if you're a tenant, please make sure that if you have a landlord that's telling you that you are responsible for payment, look at your lease. Is it in writing? Is it your responsibility, or is it the landlord's responsibility? What is in writing? And if it is not in writing, your landlord cannot hold you accountable if it's not been made known to you in advance that you would have to do such. Okay? Here's my second tip for tenants. Document your request that you've made to your landlord asking for pest control services, because I recognize that sometimes housing providers, landlords, they may not do the right thing. I'm talking about slum landlords. If you're a good landlord, this shoe don't fit you. Don't even try to put it on. Don't even wear it. All right. But for the slum landlords where tenants are asking for service, they reported pest control issues. They reported other health and safety issues like mold in a home. They reported no hot water. They reported leaks from the kitchen sink, from the bathroom toilet, from the bathroom shower head that's leaking. Listen, if you are a tenant and you are living in those conditions, please don't feel like you must live in that environment. You can contact your local inspector's office. You can also take your landlord to court. Tenants don't know that they can take their landlords to court. I know some of you landlords, let me just close my eyes because I feel like I'm getting the evil stares right now. But yes, tenants can take landlords to court for failing to make repairs. Now, here is what I am not suggesting. I am not suggesting that tenants just abruptly file a court case, whereas you haven't notified your landlord about repairs. Okay. After you report your issue, give your landlord time to make repairs. Follow with your landlord, all right, to see when the repairs are going to get started. And if after all of that, everything fails, then by all means, do what you must to enforce your lease. All right, because as a tenant, you can enforce the lease as well, because the lease is a two-party agreement. you both agree to abide by the terms that you sign. Okay, so tenants can enforce the lease as well. All right, so that's really what I wanted to share today. I wanted to address this because it's the spring. Um, the weather has changed. We are in a new season, and people have a little bit of anxiety, if you will, because things have been happening. We were in the winter months, we were in the pandemic, and so now I believe we're going to see a lot of court cases because of issues with pest control, with infestation. So I hope that something I shared today was helpful. I do apologize for going a little bit longer than I usually do. I normally come on for about 30 minutes today, but I do appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you staying. I appreciate all your comments and your concerns. By way of announcements, this is what I do each and every Monday at 7:30. On March the 28th, I failed to share this last week. March the 28th, I know some of you have already signed up, and thank you for those of you who have signed up, but I do have a 6-week curriculum for landlords. It's not on Facebook, it's not on YouTube, it's not on LinkedIn, where you will work with me for 6 consecutive weeks. I show landlords how to attract quality tenants, how to quickly fill vacant rentals and get paid monthly like clockwork. But in that, I'm helping you to develop systems that you have in place. So I'm telling you what to do here, but when you work with me one-on-one for that 6-week time frame, I'm showing you how to put the system together. All right, and so that's through my Landlord Life program. I'm so passionate about it. Again, I've been in the industry for well over 28 years, and I love teaching this. And so I'm God thankful for you. My time is up. I thank you for yours. Let me give you my email address because I saw someone ask for that. So give me one moment. And then also, I do want to follow up because last week we had a landlord who shared a platform where other owners could report tenants who have bad housekeeping. I'm sorry, not bad housekeeping, but maybe destroyed the property, skipped, didn't pay rent, that sort of thing. And so let me pull up that website. Because he emailed it to me, and I want to make sure that I share this information. So this is just a follow-up from last week, okay? So the platform for landlords to post reviews on tenants who destroy rental property is landlordnation.com, landlordnation.com. That's not my website, but this is someone who shared information, and I hope that it's helpful. Listen, here's my email address. Please feel free to email me. I'm available. All right. I have clients that I've worked with over the years, and they have always given rave review. I'm a property management educator. I teach property management, but I also put systems. I help landlords and owners and new real estate investors put systems in place so that you don't deal with these type of issues that I discuss every week. And so this is why I share this information, to prevent you all from going down that rabbit hole. But I recognize that I can't give but so much of my time when I'm online. And if you have a desire to join my master strategy program that I've created, again, it's Landlord Life. You can email me for more information. The next class is going to be March the 28th. You will work with me one-on-one. I'll look at your systems. I'll look at your lease and really put things in place for you. So if you're interested, please email me, okay? This is what I do each and every Monday. And again, I thank you all so much. Thank you for tuning in from Facebook, from LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. I appreciate you all. Please share this with somebody, because sharing is caring. So I'm going to say bye for now.